Early into the GameCube's lifecycle, developer and publisher Capcom announced an exclusive deal to release 5 games only for the GameCube. This was known as the Capcom 5. Out of those games, the first of the titles to release was PN3, also known as Product Number 3. The game was set to be a stylish, third-person action shooter from the legendary game creator Shinji Mikami. So, is PN3 the stylish action game it promised to be, or does it completely miss its mark?
PN3.
PN3 has you playing as Vanessa Z. Schneider, a mercenary for hire and dancer that is sent to the colonized planet Ode to take down CAMS. CAMS is a robotic group that's responsible for Vanessa's parents' death. She receives transmissions from the client, but not much is known about her. Play through the game, and things start to unfold by the end. Unfortunately, that's about the extent of PN3's story. Story is clearly not the game's strong suit, nor is it its focus. There's no voice acting during transmissions, and the written dialogue for the transmissions themselves do sound like something I would have wrote back in middle school, when I was just starting to dip my feet into storytelling. Now, what PN3 focuses on is its gameplay. The best way to describe PN3 is old school gameplay with a modern twist. Well, at least modern in the sense of the GameCube. This third-person action shooter has you going room to room, destroying all the CAMS robots obstructing your way to your goal, while trying to maximize your combo in each room. Utilizing the power of her Aegis suit, Vanessa can fire projectiles at her foes. Pressing the A button as fast as possible is the name of the game, until you unlock automatic fire, but more on that later. However, Vanessa cannot move while shooting enemies. As a matter of fact, Vanessa doesn't control quite as nimble as you would expect. She actually has tank controls, so if you're not a fan of that may affect your enjoyment here a bit. Me personally, I actually never minded tank controls, at least when they're done well. But you will need to master timing your dodges if you want to move out of the way of fire. Both the L and R triggers act as left and right dodges. One press of the trigger is a spin dodge, and pressing it twice in succession will result in a somersault dodge too. You are not invincible during these dodges, so this is where the timing is crucial. You can also jump forward or backwards, pushing the analog stick in the said position while pressing the B button. One of the more interesting mechanics in the game are the energy drives. Each Aegis suit has between 2 to 3 different energy drives that can turn the tide of battle drastically when it gets really intense. By doing a certain button prompt with the D-pad, followed by the A button, Vanessa can push the Aegis suit's limits by harnessing its energy to fire homing attacks, energy beams, and even invincibility for a short time, just to name a few. Having access to these are essential in also maintaining that combo when dealing with stronger enemies and doing work on the game's bosses. Speaking of bosses, PN3 has a few bosses you will encounter at the end of each mission. These can be entertaining and challenging at the same time, but expect to face bosses more than once. Some bosses return throughout the game for a rematch and will be stronger. It may seem a bit lazy, and many may say it's a rushed idea, but let's look at it this way. Devil May Cry 1 actually did this, and I didn't mind that at all. Throughout the game's 11 missions, you'll accrue points that can be used to purchase things in the shop. This could be whether you're buying new suits with different energy drive abilities, upgrading your suits with increased defense barrier, increased energy, automatic fire speed, or even buying continues. Yes, there are limited continues in the game. As mentioned earlier, the game does reward you with a combo system. Once defeating the first enemy of a room, a combo timer starts, and you'll have to try to continue taking down enemies quickly to build a bigger combo, which then leads to a bigger payout in points. Your overall performance is also rated at the end of a mission. Depending on your performance, you can get anywhere between an amateur rank to a professional rank. Now, ranks don't really do too much, at least initially, but I'll explain that in a moment. When you're at the mission start screen, you can access something called trial missions. These are randomly generated missions based on the story mission you just completed that you can play to earn more points for upgrading, and you will also be rated at the end of these missions. There are 5 missions you can play after beating a story mission, totaling in 50. Now, if you complete all 50 trial missions, as well as the game's 11 main missions with a professional rating or better, you will unlock the Papillon suit. This is also known as the G-string suit, basically. Yep, I said it. Now, if you complete the game with this suit, there's an additional cutscene at the end of the game with a bit more story reveal, but I won't spoil that here. Granted, nothing amazing, but I can't spoil everything about the game. This is a game I consider a guilty pleasure. This did not score very well critically back in the day. I personally enjoyed it back when I got it, and it's a game that I still do enjoy doing an entire playthrough of each time I revisit it. To be fair, this game is short. Like, really short. Your first playthrough just doing the story missions will probably take you about 2 hours, give or take. Thankfully, there's a new game plus so you can keep upgrading your suits. There are also 3 difficulty settings, with easy definitely being accessible, normal being a solid challenge, and hard being the difficulty that we're usually used to with Mikami-san's games. With the positives come the negatives though, and there are several things that the game misses the mark on. First off, while the game is really short, there is no mission select option, so if there's a certain mission you want to replay, you'll need to save it to a separate file slot. Second, the game's environments are definitely a mixed bag. Early levels are kind of devoid of personality, and there are levels later on that start to show some liveliness to them. I'm not bashing the intention of the game's level design, but it could have just used a little bit more variety to flesh it out more. Third, while I'm all for gameplay first, the game's story is, well, it's lacking. There's not even any lore to find or read about what CAMS is, why they killed Vanessa's parents, etc. It's just there to tie in going mission to mission. Also, I wish Vanessa's main attack had different variations. It's literally the same attack type the entire game, just with automatic fire available later on. Lastly, the game does get repetitive pretty quick, and this is where the player's mileage may vary. The trial missions are really boring to tackle, honestly. I wish that they implemented different unlockable game modes that Capcom was known for with their games back in the day. Visually, PN3 is actually a good looking game when you take everything into consideration. While the environments may be a bit flat at times, the lighting in this game is quite good and sets the mood for certain rooms really well. There's also dust effects when outside to add to the barren wasteland. Vanessa's character model is very well detailed and animated, whether she's dancing to the combat, doing her energy drive moves, somersaulting, and backflipping, it all looks fairly fluid. Enemies are animated pretty well also, with fluid transforming effects. In terms of audio, PN3 definitely nails the sci-fi theme of the game. The robotic sound effects, energy beaming out of the Aegis suit, the combo meter and UI sound effects, it all lends itself nicely to the game. However, the soundtrack is what stands out here. Consisting of techno music, many of the game's songs are just awesome. Even 2 of the game's songs were brought into Resident Evil 4's Mercenaries mode for Hunk and Krauser's themes. Good stuff to listen to here, so keep that volume up when playing. And in terms of voice acting, they actually got Jennifer Hale to voice Vanessa Z. Schneider. The only thing is that she's only got dialogue for about 2 cutscenes and maybe about 5 lines of dialogue total. Kinda strange when you have such a strong voice actress with minimal lines of dialogue. But for what she does, it's still Jennifer Hale. She's an excellent voice actress, and she does a good job here. PN3 is a game that won't be for everyone, but action fans that want something a bit different while also being a bit old school in design will definitely enjoy their time here. While it's probably the weakest release of the Capcom 5, that's by no means a knock at the game, as I personally find it quite enjoyable and a good time. If you're looking for a mindless action game that's straight to the point and has replayability, definitely look into nabbing this. It's still exclusive to the GameCube all these years, and prices are starting to go up on this one.